red sky at night. Take me home. Monty Road.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's Thursday. You know what that means? We're joined by Mr. Ratings himself, Chris Ridyard, for the Red Sky Big Preview. We're also joined by Barnsley Royalty and away team troll, Wayne Goodison.
You all right, Chris?
Last night.
Yes, I'm all right, lads. Had a bit of a nightmare getting up on here, but yeah, we're here ready to roll now. How are we all this afternoon?
Yeah, all good. All good.
You're all right, yeah. Nice to show up, Chris. You know, Wayne is 85, and he's still managed to get computer working quicker than you. So
no, I had somebody do it for me.
He certainly did. Well, listen, lads. Obviously, very important win last night for Barnsley in my eyes, and I'll come to Wayne first. I'd say a bit of a 1-0 thrashing, Wayne, in that respect for Barnsley last night.
I thought we were just so good last night. I mean, I said at the end of the commentary, I enjoyed that game so much last night from sort of many aspects. I don't think at times, you know, we played great in spells in the first half, but it wasn't about that in the first half. It was about, if you like, getting the performance back to what it was and performance levels back to what it was, and that was achieved. But I just thought, as the game went on, we just got stronger and stronger, looked better and better. We had the better chances, without a doubt. You know, they tried all sorts. Another team that tried all sorts, changed the shape, changed the personnel. It impacted them worse than it did us. We just carried on doing what we're doing. And yeah, I agree. I think we could have had a couple of goals in the first half. Certainly one. I think Freezer should score when he's in the 6-yard box. Then he sort of tries to place it, just get your foot through it somehow or other. And then we peppered them second half. In truth. But at 1-0, it's always one of those, isn't it? You know, we give a free kick away right at the death, and you're thinking, if that ball goes in the box with any bit of quality and they get an head on it, you know. But I was just really impressed with the whole thing last night, the whole attitude, the performance levels, everybody's kind of understanding of what they were doing. It was a really good performance last night.
Yeah, I've got to say, Chris, I think it was a well-drilled performance from Barnsley. In my opinion, in the top 5 performances of the season, everybody knew the jobs last night, and it reflected in what the manager said. We'll listen to that in a bit later, but it reflected in what the manager said at full time. It was a very Barnsley performance, a very Valerian Ismail Barnsley performance.
Yeah, we've seen it before, haven't we, this season, where we've put on a poor showing, and yet we bounce back straight away, really, which is something that's never really happened. It's usually been a bad few games where we can't seem to get out of it. But the mentality was back again last night so quickly. It almost makes you wonder if there's something about playing within 3 or 4 days of each other, and it just feels like we may have had too much time off last time. I'm sure that Wayne will give us thoughts on that, but I don't know if it's just a bit of rust before. But yeah, again, a great Barnsley performance, but real pressure on us last night. Real pressure. Before we had that pressure. There's not been an expectation, has there, that we're going to make playoffs before. There's not been an expectation that we need to win. We must win. It's just been a bit of a joy, you know, a free hit because we're just enjoying it ride. But last night the pressure were on, and we delivered, and we delivered in abundance. And actually, you're right, Chris. A 1-0 thrashing is exactly what it was.
Yeah, Wayne, you've just mentioned it there, Chris, and I'll move on to Wayne with this. Wayne, he's just spoke about how there was no expectations before Barnsley went on this run. And my mate mentioned it. He tweeted us a couple of weeks ago when we did the preview for the Middlesbrough game, and he mentioned that he's judging the lads now on where they are in the table now, not where they were under Struber. So that they have had to up it 10-20% last night, haven't they? Because they have been below par the last few games.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the commentary game, it was an interesting one. Obviously I wasn't there. I watched the game, and you know, sometimes you just get that as a player individually. You know, you might not quite be at it, and that's not. You know, you can criticise all you want. Nobody intends to be that way. It just happens. But I think as a team as well, you can sometimes have a day where it just doesn't go for you. And you got to give commentary a bit of credit. I thought they were very good on the day as well. So fair enough. And you're going to lose a game. You know, it's football. You're going to lose a game somewhere down the line. And I'd rather lose that one than get to maybe a playoff semi-final and have a performance like that. But I think the other thing as well is for us. It's like I've said this before, that the improvement from last year to now is enormous. We all know that. But I'll say it again, what they went through last year, and even at the start of this season, is big reason why they are where they are now, because they've learned lessons. They've learned, players have grown up, they've made mistakes, they understand a bit more about game management now and just doing what they need to do to get through the games. And I think we've got a real kind of young team that are actually quite hardened now and understand how to get themselves through a game. And that's not easy to get, and that's what's dangerous for the other teams that are going to be around us in the next few weeks.
Yeah,
we mentioned critics, Chris. There, people forget it's very easy, isn't it, to criticise when you're on the outside looking in. But I try and relate it. Obviously, I've never been a professional footballer like Wayne has, but I try and relate it to my own work. And I think I can go in 5 days a week, 4 days out of that week, I can be immense. My workload can vanish. I can be on top form. I can knock everything out of park. And then other days I sit at screen and it just doesn't happen. Or I have a conversation with somebody, it don't quite go how I want it to happen. Or I have a conversation with a child, I don't quite get the response I need. People have days like that at work. That's life. That's how it is. And I think anybody criticising can try and relate it to their own selves. And I think it just. Would you agree with that, Wayne?
Well, yeah. I mean, but the difference is it's obviously because it's professional football, and fans are what they are, and I think there's no difference particularly in attitudes of fans now than they were obviously when I played. But I think the difference you have now is because it's all instant. We've all got it on our phones and we can interact on social media, which is great. No problem with that. I think that frustration sometimes just gets a bit, there's no thought process behind it sometimes. But I get it because it's fans, and like you say there, that's the point. If I come into your work, you come and see me play on Saturday and give me dog's abuse for 90 minutes, no problem. If I come into your work, stand behind you or sit in a corner, you don't know what you're doing. What are you doing that for? Well, get him off booing you. It's the same principle, like you said. I know it's a bit extreme, that. But, yeah, listen, I think a lot of it as well is now the fans, quite rightly, it's just a shame they're not in. It's quite rightly, are so excited about where we are that it's almost that we want to get over the line, don't we? I'm no different. I'm thinking, I said before the game last night, I felt we'd win, but I did feel that if we win last night, I'm not saying we don't need to get any more points or it's done, but that's a big gap now for Reading. That's a big psychological gap. And I felt if we got that win last night, we're almost there, and another point might do it for definite or whatever. And I think it's that. It's because it's become so close. And going back to Chris's original question, three months or so ago, we were talking about, well, we're on a great run and we're 9th, 10th or whatever. That's great. Let's see. There's no pressure whatsoever. And Callum and I had spoke about it in commentary a couple of times. The difference is, once you get in that position, you're then there to be shot at massively. But I think again for us initially, lots of clubs still thought, oh, it's Barnsley, they'll drop away. They want 27 points out of 30. Yeah, that's a bit of a fluke. It's not a fluke. If you're winning that amount of points in professional football, you're a good side and you're well organised and you're well set up. And I think now, like I say, it's flipped round the other way, and that's where last night was interesting to see how they reacted to that pressure of, well, we're expected to do it now. Because if I'm a player, I'm thinking, I don't want to let this slip. I might not get another chance to have a go at this. And that's the difference now. And I think they've handled it really, really well, really well.
Well, thing Wayne mentioned there about the game last night and the pressure, Chris, I labelled it, I tell it lads at work, I said, this is the biggest game of the season. They had to win last night for me to put pressure back on Reading. Reading gained a point back on Barnsley at the weekend, and you could see the relief on the bench. You could see how hard they'd worked towards that game last night. And I think the manager will have put it in that bracket as well. Big game for Barnsley last night.
Yeah, huge game, and they delivered, didn't they? They delivered, and yeah, they were relief, but you're almost thinking you're playing so well. It was shots in, weren't it, for particularly second half, and we just couldn't put nail in coffin, could we? And you're always thinking, like Wayne said, then you're always thinking, a goal's a goal in football. What is it? 10 seconds, 5 seconds. So you can have 20, 25 minutes, or 80% possession play. You could have 10 shots, 15 shots in that time. You don't score. It only takes 10 seconds. So there's always that worry. So when that final whistle went, the major relief, wasn't there? And I actually, Chris, I had both TVs on. I had the Luton game on the left one as well. So I made it was double intense in my house. I don't know why I put myself through that.
DK and Sollbauer obviously getting a lot of attention and praise, rightly so. But everyone played well for me last night. I thought Carlton Morris was an absolute nightmare. Every time he got the ball, what I like about Carlton is he's very positive. He picks the ball up and he wants to go forward and attack the defenders. And the wing backs again were brilliant in defence and going forward, Wayne. All around a good team performance, but Dike and Sollbauer coming in for very high praise at the end of the game.
And Dike obviously gets it for the goal that he scores, and that's great to score that goal. But Carlton Morris's part in that cannot be underestimated because, as you say, he's very positive with the ball. I think he's the one out of all of them. I mean, Corley does it to a degree, but he gets the ball at his feet. Morris, he's tricky. He's got to change the direction. And what he's done there with Keogh, if you watch it, is really clever because he goes at him, just slows enough to stop Keogh and stand him up in the area. Keogh can't touch him, he's in the air, it's a penalty. He just gets himself a little yard to put the cross in. All right, there is a bit of a deflection that helps it sit up, but I think if he doesn't get the deflection, it's a cross across the 6-yard box and Dike taps it in anyway. So I thought that was a real good piece of play from Carlton Morris. And I agree, every single player on that pitch last night were really, really good. Sollbauer was outstanding. Again, I said it's one of the best central defensive displays I've seen in a long time. And I'm not just, it's not, people might think I'm going over the top there, but it's not. I watched him really closely. His understanding of the game, his reading of like when the danger was there, the cover that he put on. A couple of people made little errors, which happens in a game. He was the one who sort of was around him. And I think he's the type of player that will have been on there calming people down a little bit because we were a little bit excitable at one point. We got a little bit carried away with, which, that's fine because the adrenaline's going. And I think he's the sort of player that will have calmed them down. And Callum Britton was great. Styles. The one I said again, and nobody mentions him, and I think he suffers a little bit from, like say, criticism, was Ramal Palmer. I think he's just so underrated. And if you just watch him very closely, he does the simple things really well. Fills holes defensively, gets the ball. I think his instruction is, just keep it nice and simple. I think he can do a little bit more as an individual. I think he's quite talented, but he was really good last night as well. And every game I see him, I think I understand why he takes him off and does the change he does. But and I don't think, well, he's not played well or he's not done his job. He's done his job. Always done his job. I
was speaking to one of the lads yesterday about Romal while game were going off, and he says, give him 3 years to bulk up, and he's going to be some footballer. Because he's already not frightened of kicking players.
Oh no, he's competitive.
And he can put his foot on the ball as well. But when he shakes these injuries off that you're going to get at a young age, he's played a lot of football in these last 12 months as Ramal Palmer for Barnsley. When he starts shaking that off and he develops a bit more, there's some player on his hands, isn't there?
I think he's the type of lad that as his game develops, he'll become more of a dynamic midfielder in that and listen, I think some of the shape and the way we play, there are constraints on the midfield players, no problem, because that's the way we play. But I think as the team develops, he's a sort of player, because you see it in occasions, he'll pick it up and he'll travel with the ball quite well, got good close control, and I think he's probably the sort of lad that could start getting in the box and maybe score some goals. But at the moment, the job that he does, very simple, very effective, is crucial to the team.
Just some interesting stats here for you on Michael Sollbauer. 52 championship appearances, 19 clean sheets, 37% of the time he's in the side, Barnsley keep a clean sheet, and that's on Michael Sollbauer.
He's going to go down probably as second best Barnsley defender in history behind Wayne Goodison, I think, something like that.
222nd, I think I might.
Yeah, but Wayne, you're best defender on our podcast, so that's all that matters.
Callum might dispute that if he was on.
Yeah, they're impressive stats, and like a third of the time. That's he's such a magnificent player. And I was reading on Twitter last night, somebody was saying he needs to be in team all the time. And I think when it's just a case of picking and choosing what defender plays against what attackers we play, isn't it? Last night we were playing against wilier strikers, probably not as quick. But he outmanned them. He old-manned them, shall we say. He old-manned them, didn't he, to a certain degree. Whereas when we played with quicker strikers, Civic's been the preferred choice, hasn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I've said this before, I think all the central defenders have got different attributes and there's a real good mix with them. And in fairness to Huddersfield last night, I think they attempted to do something slightly different. Initially, they played the two forwards outside of our defensive three to try and exploit that space, and so that's something a bit different. And I think Sollbauer's the sort of player that would recognise that on the field and organise people around and say, right, well, when this happens, you need to go here, and you need that as a young player. You need somebody to talk you through the game at that sort of level. But I think again, one of the biggest impacts with him will be not just when he plays. I've said this before. It'll be around the place. It'll be on the training field. You know, I think Mads Andersen's massively improved, and that'll be a lot down to Sollbauer, not just playing with him last year, but talking to him, explaining things in training, giving him little tips of advice. You know, we all had that when we played, and they're things that you can't coach. You know, if I'm coaching, I can put certain things on for players, but if you've got somebody who's actually been through it and understands it and is very good in their own position, then if they're passing that information on, that's a huge part of development. And that's what you've seen. You know, those central defenders, Civic now coming in, have developed a lot of it down to Michael Sollbauer.
Especially the performance from the guys. Congratulations. It was exactly what we wanted to see after the Coventry game. The focus was clearly on the performance. We say we have to start strong and finish strong because this is us, what we want to see. And we saw a great performance, Barnsley performance tonight. We have to score maybe more goals. We dominate all the party. We didn't concede a big chance. I think we control a lot of situation, and the guys gives everything today. It was great to see. And when you put the performance in the game, as usual, you can see you will win more games than you lost.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it was a really tough night here for us. Really tough game, but exactly what we expected before the game. Especially at this time of the season, yeah, I call it more a bit crunch time. That's the deciding point, the turning point. Yeah, and after the Sunday game where we were all not satisfied, especially also with the performance and obviously with the result. Today it was a really fantastic commitment from the team. We worked together, we worked hard for these points, and I think this is one of the most important things for us to see. We have to work really hard to get these points everywhere. It was a tough game for us against this opponent. They are fighting for, I think, relegation at the moment. We all knew from the last season. So for us, it was a tough game, a huge performance.
So when looking at other performances then last night, we've mentioned Sollbauer, in particular, obviously Dike due to his goal. What about Callum Britton? Obviously, that is quite a demanding role, isn't it? Down that right-hand side, backwards, forwards, 90 minutes. It's not easy. 90 minutes twice a week, not easy. 90 minutes in, 3 days, and then back again, back on the horse. Just talk to me about that, Wayne, being a professional. How does he keep doing it? Is it an age thing? Is it a desire thing? What is the factors keeping that man going to that pace and that intensity?
I'd say it's a combination of all those things, to be honest with you, Chris. I mean, he's another one I've been really impressed with. I'd probably focus on him a lot because that was generally my sort of position that I played. And he's an outstanding player, and I think he's another one that he's come on so much. He looked a good player when he came, but he's just another one that's developed. And you know, I mean, last night he ends up playing in central midfield with Alex Mowatt and doesn't look out of place there either. He's just absolutely comfortable, knew the role, did the job. But I think when you're on a roll, when you've kind of, and look, the sports science and stuff like that will be talking about his numbers and the load and impacts and everything, all that, sure. And I know they put a lot of store in that, but his recovery must be really good for him to be ready to go again. And same with Callum Styles. No, I know probably Callum's come off a couple more times than Callum Britton has, but you know, they'll all be in the stage now where they just want to play. They just want to play, and they're playing that much that they'll be doing very little on the training ground. I'm sure it'll be all low intensity stuff, you know, just preparing for the next games, and they're just getting themselves ready. But it's just been outstanding. It'd be great to see him score a goal because I think he's been in positions loads of times to have a chance at that. But his value to the team is enormous. Really impressed with him. Really impressed.
Yeah, you mentioned that position change then, Wayne. So can a good footballer play anywhere? Is that a thing? I mean, obviously, I would assume that there's those little percentages, isn't there, that you may gain or lose by positions. And obviously, clearly the manager trusts him because the role that he played last night late on and the way that the manager plays, it's not as simple as, just play middle of the park and hook it over your shoulder, is it?
No, I think some more than others can do that. And I mean, generally, you know, like I said, when you're at that sort of level, you would probably find that most players can do a job somewhere, and that's it. I think the key is if you're capable of playing there for a number of games. Listen, I was a bad player and I played quite a few positions. So But you know, it is one that I think with him, I look at him and I think he's a very good footballer, full stop. So he can play as a wing back, and obviously plays as an out and out right back, no problem. I could probably see him playing as one of the three as well, on the right side of a three, no problem in the central defence there. Probably play higher at the pitch as a wide right player and do a job. And he's shown last night on a couple of occasions he can go and step in midfield and quite comfortably, you know, do what's needed there. But he's a very good footballer, like I say, technically really, really good, really good.
Yeah, great result then, Wayne, last night. Obviously, we built up to that, having had a previous poor result. We bounced back. A lot of intensity last night. We look back to being Barnsley. We've got to do it again at weekend, Wayne. It's again a very quick turnaround. At this point in the season, I know we've got to play his own game, and I will no doubt that Ishmael's ramming that home. But we're playing a team that's playing for something, Wayne. As a player, would you prefer to be playing a team that's probably already on beach?
No, different, because you just don't know how that comes across. You know, if they turn up and they're on the beach, they're thinking, "Oh, I'm not that bothered." They can just relax. They get a foothold in the game, and all of a sudden they're pinging it around like, you know, Man City at home against, I don't know, Accrington Stanley or whatever. But they, listen, it's a local derby, isn't it? It's a historical fixture that's always had, you know, all levels of the club. Again, youth team games and reserve games. And Rotherham was always you want to win the game because it's local bragging rights. And I think for us, you know, it's tantalisingly there, isn't it? Win on Saturday, we're in the playoffs, no danger. You know, we said the other week we're on target for points per game, was saying 77 points. I think that, you know, we're going to be just about there if we do that. So I think, just going back to what I was saying before, that wanting to play now for all the players will be, let's get this game played, do it right, get the performance level right, get the win, and then the manager can look at the last two fixtures, hopefully, and think about planning for the playoff semi-final.
Yeah, the games are coming thick and fast, aren't they? And that was huge, and then this is huge again, because if we lose to Rotherham, we've effectively lost a little bit of ground, and pressure could be back on us again, depending on how other results go.
And then you've got another week before you play.
Exactly. So we could just get a job done, Wayne. That'd be nice, wouldn't it? But it'd be so Barnsley, wouldn't it? That wouldn't be like Barnsley.
Yeah, that's true as well. That's true as well. Yeah, we'll probably leave it till the last minute against Norwich at home or something like that. No, I do. I think they'll not finish the job. I think they'll do what they need to do to get to the next stage. I think they'll do that Saturday, and then, like I say, if it was me, I'd be thinking the week after I'll play the team, if you like, or stay as we are, and then for the Norwich game, I'd be looking to give people a complete rest, getting ready for those playoff games.
Yeah, we've seen plenty of chopping and changing throughout. We're very aware, me and you, Wayne, that it's not an 11-a-side game anymore. Barnsley, it's very much been a 15, a 16-a-side game. Do you foresee many changes for Saturday against Rotherham? I mean, obviously, Carlton Morris, massive impact again yesterday. Dike obviously didn't start, but came on quite early doors, really, earlier than what we've been used to. Just wondering what your thoughts are on that.
You would expect so, because that tends to be the sort of method of operation, doesn't it? That there'll be possibly one of the centre halves to get changed. It's usually Hellick and Anderson that stay in the team. So you won't be surprised if Civic comes back in. But I'm sure they looked at the game and they'll plan accordingly. Don't see any reason to change the midfield or the two wing backs. So generally, it's then going to be, do you change? I think what he might do is he might change one of the forwards, because if you look last night, we were saying, I think that's the first time that for that length of time anyway, that they've had Woodrow, Dike, and Morris up front, the big three, if you like, that people sort of tend to want to play. And I think he looks at the impact that he has off the bench then after that. So especially if Freezer's out, he might think, well, I might need to keep maybe Morris on the bench to come have the impact, or Corley Woodrow. So I would envisage a couple of changes again, yeah, without a doubt.
Potentially could see Connor Chaplin play some part again.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about the strikers at Rotherham. We've got Smith and Ladapo, possibly Civic maybe suited for that. Yeah. So we'll see when. Prediction then for Saturday, and then we'll leave everybody be.
2-0.
2-0 Barnsley, I'm assuming.
2-0.
You do for me, Wayne. Thank you very much for joining us as always. We really appreciate your time, Wayne.
No problem, Chris.
Thank you no worries, but thank you very much for watching, everybody. We've been Red Sky. You can find us everywhere. We're here, there, and everywhere, Wayne. You know, we get where water can. You know what I mean? See you later, everybody.
You've even got people over here that are Northwich fans following you now and everything. It's brilliant.
It's brilliant, mate. If there's a Northwich podcast that needs to be done, we're there. What colour sky would that be, Wayne?
It will be green. We're
Green
green.
Scrap.
Yeah.
We're on, Wayne. We're on. No problem. See you later, buddy. Bring
Take
on
it
them
easy.
three. Ta-ra. Bye-bye.